Women's labor overview, industrial, in the early 1800s began drawing a white minority northeastern women, where the women have factories, schoolhouse, and particularly nobles, milks, and windmills in Massachusetts. While many women work for wages, other parts of remain at home, professionalized job makers, as part of the 19th century call of heart. The African American women in the South remained enslaved during this period, and they were afforded none of these benefits of the independent labor. Native American women copied the increasation of the precious labor of Indian removal, and the Manus dynasty continued to push them far south. For the dynasty, the factory workers working during 17th and 18th century, the skirmish expert craft workers killed, produced, hand-made, and Thomas Jefferson embraced it. The British manufactured goods was from late of 1807 to early 1809. To protect the U.S. production of New England merchant ships, began investing in industries, enterprise, and the same British that was banned and market by 1812. 17 new texture had been established in New England towns. Lower House Girls. The Lower House Girls was an American businessman that came to reform manufacturing industry by hiring women and creating jobs, workplace, and manufacturing the Boston Manufacturing Complex in 1813. The building was fewer miles, but the most famous, which was the Massachusetts town that was named by herself, the Small Millers. Individuals, and while these employees were not difficult to find, while young men could work variants of operations, young white women had fewer options and fewer experience of work styles, so the Boston manufacturing companies preferred to see women as easily managed, restricted, while living on the factory ground. Needing to enter the daughter's vitals of the protected and the problem solving, but the industry of the third vitamin of the established strict rule of government lives life and young workers, the women, men, boarding house, and woke awake from the sound of the bell, and also a 12-hour day began talking forbidden. They could not swear, drink alcohol, or they will return attendedly church. Women's experience. Women working in the Boston, Massachusetts expected early day morning work. They were not leered. They were not tired. They were not leered. They did not take breaks or any desired times. Who arrived late will be paid as the dock. 5 minutes. Worth lost their pay. 5 monopoly. 5 days. 10 hours to 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. Work as the tiresome, also very dangerous, Prussian caught displayed alongside the manufacturing goods of the problem-solving texture path. The women worked hand of the finger, marriage, and 70s that were caught manufacturing, in some case, a limb, scraper, the bodies crushed. The workers did not survive, nearly lost their jobs, but no suspension provided. The women labor movement. The women labor movement was established in 1981. A young woman employed in the Boston, Massachusetts Company of Wilma went on strike for 2 days, cutting her wages. In 1830, female workers formed the Louis Factor Girl Association, which organized strikes, activities, and face cuts. They later established themselves as the former labor and protest against the 12-hour workday. Organization of regular newspaper, diligent and negative works of them, even though they have striked rarely, and the labor protesters are breaking ground and plaguing public bestir. The minority of women worked in this era of slavery of the Indian removal. Enslaved women in the South, stripped from their motherhood, identified as working field for the rich. What do you think? How is this labor movement compared to the women's first rights movement? And how does this determine the professional options of women in the early hundreds? What did this protest mean for the government? And why does the government not change the workforce from 12 hours to 10, which was required for international law? The house and school teachers were better far-off jobs, but why is there food labor? Let me know. Comments below. Peace.